One thing I want to touch on before we wrap up is the 1031 exchange, right? I know we touched on it a little bit earlier, but anything you want to share about that particular process that we might not have shed light on?
Yeah, I mean, other than it's one of the most important wealth building tools in our, in my lifetime. It's just such an interesting concept that you can, if you did the math and you said, all right, hey, say the capital gains rate is like 20% or something like that, you can pay capital gains 4 properties from now in 10 years at 20% capital gains. And if you did the math, you would find that if you sold property A in year 1 or 2 or whatever and paid 20% capital gains tax there, and then used those proceeds to buy property 2 and then sold and paid capital gains tax. So if you did the math, you would find that the one tax at the end of the 10 years is probably several percentage points less in tax than you would have paid if you're doing so incrementally. And so it's just when you're talking about a couple percentage of,
well, a couple percentage goes a long way. As a business owner operator, you got to vacuum up the pennies and nickels.
Yeah.
That was something that was said to me a long time ago by a good business person, that you've got to find ways along the way on each line item to constantly be compressing those costs.
Sure.
And a few percent here, a few percent there adds up to a bigger number overall. So wherever you can pick it up through whatever strategy, by whatever means possible, that's the name of the game when you're running a business, right?
Totally.
From product, service, all those things matter, but to truly run a good business, you have to pay attention to the cost associated with it, the risk, the liabilities, and the blood of it. So
totally. You got to know your numbers for sure. Yeah, and the 1031 exchange is amazing, and honestly, there are many great 1031 exchange accommodators. That's one of the requirements of doing a 1031 is that you hire a company. The ones we use here in Southern California range from like $750 to $1,500. They're super knowledgeable. It's an IRS created mechanism to help investors. And so there are some very strict guidelines that it needs to follow. So these exchange accommodators are your kind of backstop to make sure that the details of the transaction have been carried out thoroughly and properly. And I hope that the 1031 exchange never goes away. That's needless to say. But there's a lot of talk with some of the tax law changes that are coming up down here, the step up in basis, the 1031 exchange. We haven't gotten rid of them yet, but they've been on the chopping block a couple times, which is kind of scary to think about.
Once it shows up for vote or consideration,
right,
it's being considered.
Yeah,
and you don't want to see that stuff advance too quickly because it causes a lot of problems for a lot of people.